Hello and welcome to the 71st episode of Growing Up Geek, the weekly podcast for geek entertainment and nostalgia. My name is Brad and I'm joined by my lovely wife, Amber.
Hello.
Amber's providing the non-geek perspective, which is always nice. But we were driving the other day to go see Under the Sea at the Carnegie Science Center to watch fish rape each other.
What? Don't say that.
To watch fish love each other. And there was a conversation that started in the car about those old Scholastic book magazines that we would get in school. And I was like, hold on, we got to save this for the cast. So I figured we would start there because it brought back just all these sort of book memories. You said that you would always order the Garfield books out of those little Scholastic magazines.
Yeah. Let's say I wasn't somebody who loved to read books.
But you can read.
I can read. Yes, I am literate. Okay, but
That's a qualification for this discussion.
oh, thank you. But I always was so excited when we would get them. I think it was like once a month. And I always looked on the back because the back had all the Garfield, the jokey kind of books.
Yeah.
It would come in 2 weeks, and it was like a lot of times our teachers would have them before we got to class or when we were in gym class or something. So by the time we got back to our room, like it was sitting on our desk. And it was like, yes!
Do you think teachers looked down on the kids that ordered Garfield? Because it was just pictures and things. Not to say you're dumb.
No, hey, that was really rude.
Do you think they thought that we were, though? Because I did that, too. I ordered Garfield.
Okay, maybe they thought you were. I was one of the smartest kids in my class, so I think they let it. Well, I was, though. I can't.
Well, you shouldn't say that, though.
Well, you asked the question.
Okay, say it.
I was. So,
So they didn't frown on your Garfield obsession.
I'm sure they were probably like, geez, Amber, you should read, but.
Because there was always the Newberry Award winners, they would point out. And those were the books that were normally, like, adult approved.
Yeah, I really liked the Newberry books, but I would always get them from our library because we also had library day once a week in elementary school.
Awesome.
Like, we would have art class once a week, and gym class, I think, twice a week, and library class. I don't even know if
Library class.
Library something.
They teach you to go, shh.
We went to the library once a week, and that's when I would get the Newberry books because they were more expensive.
When I think about those Newbery Awards, I start thinking about a lot of the sort of child detective series, like Encyclopedia Brown, Nancy Drew, and you liked Hardy Boys, although I think Hardy Boys was maybe more of our parents' generation. I don't know.
So was Nancy Drew. Nancy Drew was our parents.
Did you ever read any of Nancy Drew or any of those mystery type?
No.
That was a short conversation.
I read the Choose Your Own Adventure books.
Right, yeah.
And I also read Goosebumps. I liked Goosebumps a lot, but that's not really
Child horror.
Yeah, it's not solving a crime, but it is you have to figure out what was happening while you're reading it. Right. So it's like you're the detective kind of.
Yeah, child horror weirded me out. I was like, should there be a child horror genre? Like how scary was Goosebumps?
It wasn't really that scary. I do remember thinking that it had a whole lot of hype, so I thought they were going to be really scary. So when I got them, I was kind of scared to read them. Right. But when I ended up reading them, I made it scarier than it was.
Was it like a lot of ghost stuff?
No, the one I read that I remember was about this slime blob that grew. It wasn't ghosts or monsters, but
Right, it was just gooey and gross.
But it was a scary thing because, you had to get away from it. I don't think they killed any kids, but they...
I hope not. And then at the last page, they killed all the kids.
No, but I'm saying, they made it so that you thought they were in danger, that they could die, so...
I think you and I both agree we always liked when the kids were at least in danger. It wasn't so safe.
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite books of all time is Island of the Blue Dolphins.
Oh, yeah. They made a movie, I think, of it.
I don't know about that.
Sorry, go ahead. The book.
But it's about a girl that lives on this island with her family, and then these colonists come and kill everyone off, and she's the only survivor. Mm-hmm. And she's living with wolves, and she has to find food. She really is in danger, and I think it's kind of based on a true story, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, that's scary.
Yeah. That leads me to one of my favorite books when I was a kid, if not the favorite, was a book called Hatchet. Do you remember Hatchet?
I didn't read anything you read. I'm just
I might be alone on this, but Hatchet was this kid. He was going to vacation or camp or something, and he was in a single passenger plane with the pilot, and the pilot has a heart attack. and like keels over at the controls, and like the plane crashes, and he has to like he's alone with this dead pilot, and they actually describe him diving down into the water and getting the dead pilot's like gear off of his dead bloated corpse like under the water. And then this was a little bit more of like a teenager maybe low.
Okay, wait. So he was taking stuff off of the pilot. You said bloated, like if they just crashed he wouldn't be bloated.
Well, no, he stays there for a long time, and like he eventually
he has to go back.
He has to go under the water and get something the pilot had. I can't remember what it was, but he was there for such a long time. There was a part where he got stabbed by a porcupine, and he didn't know what to do, and he was in a cave.
Oh, that reminds me, the porcupine thing. Oh, that's so funny. I remember also reading a short story in English class. It was in like our big English book that had like a compilation of stories about this girl that was in the middle of the ocean, and she was trying to swim back to shore. For some reason, like she had, like, I guess she was stranded or something, and there were sharks after her. And her legs started to cramp up, and if you look like you're injured, sharks will attack you. So she had to bite her lips so hard to like distract herself from the pain in her legs so she could swim to shore. Yeah. But then she was worried about the blood bleeding from her mouth getting into the water. No. It was so like
she was literally biting it.
Yeah, and it was like a tense, scary story. And I was like in 3rd or 4th grade reading this. It's kind of weird.
I think it's kind of good for kids to have books where they're a little bit unsafe.
Yeah, I didn't like any of the stories that my friends read that were about girls, like 4 girls that...
Like, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Oh, God, no, I didn't read that. But like all the American Girl series, do you remember them? There were like 500
Is that Kit Kittredge? Because that's out now as like a movie. Kit Kittredge, American Girl.
Maybe. She might have been one of them. All I know is if you went to our library time, you could not get an American Girl book because all the girls had them out. And like... every book was about a different girl. I don't know. I just thought they were kind of boring because it was just... there weren't real problems, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe I was wrong. I didn't really read...
Well, no, I had sort of an accidental experience with girls' books because my mom, I don't know why, recommended that I read Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. And she gave it to me. Like, this is a good book. Like, sort of like how we were talking about how your mom sat you down and, like, let you watch To Sir with Love and was like, this is an important movie. Like, my mom did that. She was like, read this book. And I read it, and it's about a girl going through, like, womanhood and, like, things that I don't need to know about. Why are you staring like that? You're staring like, don't say this.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying.
So, I think it's kind of sad now looking at it. Like, all these people reference, like, SNL has Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret jokes. Yeah. And I'm like, I thought I was the only one that read that.
I think you really were, and I think the people on SNL are making jokes about it because nobody else has read that book.
It might be. So what are some other favorite books? And you mentioned that you didn't read what your classmates read, but what about what your teachers recommended that you read? A lot of them you said that you thought were half decent. Decent, right? Decent. Where did that come from? I don't know. I suddenly became a caveman. Like Ethan Frome or whatever? Like, was that?
I liked Ethan Frome. But this is in high school. In elementary school, we weren't forced to read books. We could read whatever we wanted for Bookits.
Oh, yeah, okay. We got to talk about Book It. And that came up last night, which I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, you had a, like, pin. I remember it was like a big hologram pin that had a book opened up on it, and it said Book It. And if you read 5 books, you got 5 little stars, and once you filled your whole pin, you take the pin to Pizza Hut, and then you give it to them, and they give you a free personal pan pizza.
Which is a pretty good deal, I think. Read 5 books, and they could probably be any books, right?
Yeah, but
who gives you the star?
Your teacher. We had to prove somehow that we read the books. I think maybe we had to write book reports.
You had to show a picture of you reading it?
No. But I remember going to Pizza Hut quite often.
Did you like those personal pans?
Yes, I loved them.
I love that. I remember going to when Land Before Time was a big thing. I went and we got the Land Before Time puppets too.
Yeah, those were the best. I miss having those toys.
I had a Ducky one. I think you had a Littlefoot.
No, I had Ducky. Okay. I loved having Ducky. I think Robert had Littlefoot, and I think my cousin Tim had Sarah. Yeah, but anyway, yeah.
So back to the books. Do you remember Ralph on the Motorcycle? That was like a book a lot of kids read.
It's called Ralph S. Mouse. I love that book. There was Ralph S. Mouse, and then there was something else. Like, it was a series by Beverly Cleary, right?
Yeah. She was real famous, too.
Yeah, and she also wrote Ramona books.
Yeah, did you read those?
Oh, yes.
Talk about Ramona books, because I also never read those. Ramona Quimby, right?
Yeah.
I was like, what is that?
I loved Ramona books. I loved Ramona books so much. And I was even lucky enough that my school once a month would show videos, and one of the videos was like a Ramona book like acted out, and I loved it. It was like the best thing ever. But there was like Ramona Quimby, Ramona age 8, Ramona and her dad, Ramona and Beezus, which is her sister.
Well, what's it about? Just real quick, like, what's the story? Is she like dysfunctional family kind of thing?
No, I wouldn't say it's dysfunctional. She's like a tomboyish. She's not like
She's not like Kit Kittredge, maybe? I don't know what that's about, but
I have no idea what it's about either, so quit referencing it. No, she's not a girly girl, and like a lot of it revolves around problems with her family. Like the one that was about her and her dad was she was worried about her dad being stressed out at work and he lost his job and he was smoking and she wanted him to quit. It was more adult, like, at least I think, than other kids' books. Like,
well, it's also about like troubled youth or like a weird person. And I always related much more to the weird characters.
She wasn't like a normal girl. She wasn't the American girls, that's for sure.
Yeah. I liked this book called Who is Bugs Potter, which was about this guy who's a flute player, and which I found out by reading that book is called a flautist because Bugs
It is a flautist.
Because Bugs Potter was like this hippie dude that was really popular, and this flute player and him became friends. I remember just being a really cool book. I liked it a lot. So I read that on a camping trip to Matt in a tent.
Okay.
And I think just in general the weird stories. Do you remember the one that was like, my stepmother is an alien or something like that?
No.
Okay. That's all right.
I don't know. I didn't read those.
That's all right. But your favorite book you told us the other night, and you were saying about it being possibly even like not banned from the school, but there was like a controversy about it because there was like a death.
Yeah, my favorite book when I read when I was little was Bridge to Terabithia, and I thought it was the greatest book ever, and like it made me even cry, and I read it when I was in 6th grade, and then I found out when I was in high school that it was banned, and then it became a movie.
Say why.
Well, I don't know. Like, I think that either because he has a crush on his teacher, and he goes to the museum one day with her.
We figured out it's either that there's a crush on the teacher or, spoilers, sorry, there's a death in the book.
Yeah, and it's a really sad death. Like, it's...
Like My Girl sad.
Yes, like that. And then when the movie was coming out, I was so excited about it, and I went to go see it. Obviously, it was for little kids, but I didn't care. And, like, it was an okay movie, but it just didn't feel the same to me.
Yeah, that's like my Watchmen experience.
Yeah, like, I wasn't really that sad at the end of the movie. Maybe because I already knew how it was going to end.
This is what happens. It's like if you read books, this will be the curse, is that every movie made of it will suddenly not be as good, you know? Like we were talking about Jurassic Park, and I mean, that's not in a book we read as kids, but Jurassic Park.
I read it in high school, yeah.
What other books, like, you had mentioned a little bit later in life, like things like Ethan Frome, there was a lot of, like, Victorian-era books.
Yeah, we always had to read old books, and I hated them, like, because we didn't understand the language, and we didn't understand the time period, and they assumed that we did, and all this crap.
It's like
but
nothing newer than 1900.
Yeah, I hated almost every book we were assigned.
Did you ever have to read Silas Marner?
No.
A lot of them were a person's name. Yeah. Silas Marner, Ethan Frome, Jane Eyre.
I actually did like Jane Eyre. Most people think it's boring, but I thought it was good. It's interesting.
What's the one where some dude like sled rides into a tree?
That's Ethan Frome. And I liked Metamorphosis, which most people don't like, so but I love that book. I think it's so great. And plus it's only 50 pages long, so but
book it, here we come.
But like I could totally understand the symbolism and everything in that book. Like that was not hard for me to understand.
It bothers me whenever they talk about that book and they get really, what did you see in the book? And I'm thinking like Franz Kafka seemed like he had a message behind it, didn't he?
He totally did. When he was alive, he was dying of syphilis or something like that. Yeah. But like it's a disease that back then was kind of like having AIDS now. He goes to sleep as himself one day and he wakes up as a giant cockroach. Yeah. And like everybody's disgusted by him. It's like sad because that's, to me, is like what he felt like in his real life.
I would just like a book about a giant cockroach, if that's okay.
Okay, but it's more than that. He has feelings and he's worried and he's scared and a lot of things.
Yeah, that's cool. My sister was really into Roald Dahl. He wrote like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Big Friendly Giant. No, there's a scene in there. Both books have a scene where they drink some sort of drink and then start farting and it makes them fly through the air. So I don't know if Roald Dahl...
Yeah, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Yeah. I thought he burped in that one, but yeah.
Yeah, he burps in one and the giant farts in the other one. And I remember there's a cartoon of the Big Friendly Giant where he's flying through the air farting and he's singing about it. And it's like,
That's funny.
we don't read very much anymore. We both have kind of confessed this, that like we just don't read as much as we used to.
No. I mean, I really didn't read a whole lot for
You're getting back
a
into
long
it.
time. And then I just started reading again when I went to Thailand because it was a 22-hour trip. You have to read or you have nothing else
Or
to
you
do.
go insane. You're reading a lot of
Kurt Vonnegut?
Kurt Vonnegut, yeah, the guy who gave your graduation
Speech, yeah. He's really funny, by the way. And
You want to know something messed up? I had my best friend in the 6th grade, Luke. He read Kurt Vonnegut.
Wow,
He loved
6th
Kurt
grade.
Vonnegut, and it was in 6th grade, and I was like, I never heard of that. I was reading Ninja Turtle comics.
That's funny. Well, I mean, I guess he's not that hard to understand, but
He was a smart kid. You're reading Catcher in the Rye too right now, right?
yeah, because I never read it, which I'm sure most people are probably laughing at me.
I
but
think Rob actually referenced it last week on the show about how Catcher in the Rye.
don't say anything. 'Cause
Okay,
I haven't
yeah.
read it.
That's okay.
I really have never read it, so
In some way, I guess it relates to the wrestler. So
I read
That's-
Franny and Zoe though, which
Yeah.
is the less popular one by
Right.
J.D. Salinger.
And you were almost named Zoe because of that book.
Oh, I know, and I hate that name.
Your
Yes.
mom loved that book, and she was going to name you that.
I don't know if she necessarily loved the book, but she loved the name, which it was a boy in the book, which really bothers me.
Whoops. That's why I was going to be named Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka. Wow, there you go.
Yeah, reading is great, man. Did you ever watch Reading Rainbow and then read one of the books that they recommended?
Sadly, no, I haven't.
You did watch that show, right?
Oh, yes. I watched the show every week, and I thought it was really cool, and I liked that they described the books, but
Yeah.
I never really read them.
There was one episode of that where they did like a space edition of Reading Rainbow, and Robin and I always remember that because they changed the theme song to go Reading Rainbow Space Edition, Reading Rainbow. And so now every time we sing that song, inevitably the other one has to add Space Edition.
Oh, my gosh. I don't think I saw that episode.
A lot of those books look really cool, and I was like, oh, and then I never read
I'm
them.
sure they probably were really cool.
So that is some book memories from us.
What's your favorite book?
I was probably Hatchet, like I said, whenever I was growing up. My cousin gave me a mystery book where it had like codes and stuff. On the front it showed a kid removing a brick from a wall and sliding a note into it. Like, I think a lot of this stuff is based on getting the one-up on the parents.
I guess. I don't think I read those kind of books.
My mom really didn't like that trend. She hated Nickelodeon because they would always make fun of parents.
Yeah, and they slimed the parents and stuff. Yeah.
That's the other thing. You mentioned slime and gross stuff. Like, a lot of kids love slime and boogers and all that stuff. And those creepy crawlers, I know that's not books.
I
but
thought creepy crawlers were so cool, though. And I wanted to have them, but because I was a girl, I didn't get them. So my brother got it. And I was like, Robert, can we make creepy crawlers?
That's okay because it had a 500-degree oven.
I know.
And they recalled it?
So hot.
Yeah.
You could burn, like, anything with that. I remember...
You would singe your flesh off.
Yeah, I remember, like, just touching it for 1 second and going, ah!
Yeah.
But yeah, we luckily didn't hurt ourselves with that. We
That's
just
really
thought it was
impressive.
awesome.
Yeah, I remember that thing got recalled, and I read why, and I'm like, duh. Yeah, you're like making like molds and then pouring like hot wax or whatever you're doing.
No, I think you put stuff in and then it melted into the shape.
Okay, yeah, of like bugs and stuff, and they had like a mad scientist going boo.
Yeah, I
Kids
don't.
love gross stuff like that, but yeah, child horror, child mystery, lots of good stuff.
Yeah.
Book it.
Book it, dude.
Well, that is going to be this week's Nostalgia Fest. Thank you, everybody, for listening. There is no show next week. We're actually taking a vacation. We are trying to get tan here, which is why my butt is incredibly red right now.
Nobody can see you.
There you go. A lesson for podcasters. Nobody can see you. So thank you for listening, and we will see you in 2 weeks. If you would like to send us an email, you can. Our website is growing-up-geek.com, and you can also follow Rob's Twitter. Rob is away this week, not on the show, but you can follow Rob's Twitter at twitter.com/GUGRob. And that's going to do it. Once again, my name is Brad.
I'm Amber.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
I won't.
Bye-bye.